Governor, ladies and gentlemen, it is a great honor to speak at this special event, the celebration of 25 years of collaboration between Belarus and the IMF. Belarus became an IMF member on July 10, 1992. But IMF involvement with Belarus started even before independence. In late 1991, we had the first technical assistance mission of the IMF to Belarus. It was a mission of the IMF Central Banking Department, and it advised on central bank reforms and the future technical assistance to Belarus. Our resident representative office was opened in 1992. Since that time, there have been 11 resident representatives. The list on the left, you should read it from top to bottom, and 12 mission chiefs, and soon Jacques Mignan will be number 13. Of course, much more important than the international staff has been the local staff. Julia has been with the office for 25 years. And Lena is very close with 21 years. Maria and Vladimir have been a bit shorter, but they also deserve an applause. The IMF in 25 years has interacted with 6 central bank governors. You can here see a list. So far, Popovic has been the longest in office, but according to this table, Karl Lauer will outlive them by far. In the past 25 years, the IMF has on several occasions helped Belarus financially. In the 1990s, there were 2 loans under the Systemic Transformation Facility, and in 1995 and 2009, there was a standby arrangement. But the relationship went far beyond just money. In recent years, there has been very close collaboration and high-level contact. President Lukashenko traveled all the way to New York to deliver flowers to our managing director and to discuss a few other things. Belarus during the years has also received IMF technical assistance and training. The chart on the left side shows you technical assistance in person years. In the mid-90s, this was 4 person years, so 4 people in the IMF were working full-time on delivering technical assistance. This was in addition to the regular IMF teams. And there was also a lot of training, as you can see on the right side. If we look back over the past 25 years, some of the issues have clearly changed. In 1992, Belarus was still in the ruble zone. And the issue then was how to make macro policies of Belarus consistent with ruble zone membership. But other items have not changed so much. This is a copy from the 1994 Article 4 staff report, and it talks about raising of energy prices, it talks about reform of state-owned enterprises, and it talks about a larger role for the private sector. If you have seen the movie Groundhog Day, you'll understand why I was thinking about this. How has Belarus done in the past 25 years? The economy looks much brighter. This is not just a metaphor. On this slide, you see satellite pictures at night, both in 1992 on the left and in 2013 on the right. And you can see there are much more lights now. There is clearly more activity. It's not just, if we look at social indicators, income inequality in Belarus was low in the early 90s. We know in many countries in Eastern Europe, it has increased since the early 90s. Not so in Belarus. Income inequality has remained low. If we look at life expectancy, in the early 90s, it was below 70. It was low in all of the former CIS countries. Since then, life expectancy has increased significantly, and it now compares favorably with the other CIS countries. If we look at infant mortality, there Belarus stands out particularly. Infant mortality is as low as in Scandinavia and in the Netherlands. Let's go back to economic indicators. If we compare current GDP per capita in Belarus with its neighbors, then on the one hand, income is clearly higher than in Moldova and Ukraine. But on the other hand, it's not as high as in Poland and the Baltics. As you would have seen on this chart, in the early 90s, Ukraine was about 20% richer than Belarus. But Ukraine is now still poorer than in the 1990s. And by now, Belarus is about twice as rich. And Belarus is about 3 times as rich as Moldova. You not only see this in economic statistics, you also see it on satellite pictures. Brighter than in the past. If we look at Ukraine, and in particularly Eastern Ukraine looks darker than in the early 90s. So compared to Ukraine and Moldova, Belarus has done well. But Belarus has not done as well as Poland. Poland looked like someone turned on a Christmas tree. It's much, much brighter. And if we see a chart of GDP over time, you see that in the early 90s, there wasn't that much difference in GDP per capita between the two. But Belarus had a much deeper recession initially, and Poland has had very steady growth. Ladies and gentlemen, this slide nicely summarizes developments in the region in the past 25 years. These lines show developments of GDP per capita since 1995 and ending in 2017. You can clearly see the progress that Belarus has made. Belarus, the Second Line. But you see, Belarus is now about in the middle of the pack in income levels. Better than its CIS neighbors, better than the Balkans, but not as rich yet as the EU new member state. 25 years from now, when we celebrate 50 years of IMF-Belarus collaboration, we hope that Belarus will be at the top of this pack. Ladies and gentlemen, to the next 25 years of IMF-Belarus collaboration.